Hello and welcome. Today we're talking about rewiring the brain. This is a topic that comes up a lot for people who are trying to heal from complex PTSD or from childhood trauma, and rewiring the brain is a hot topic, right? But what does it actually mean? And more importantly, the question I get most often is, how do we do it? Right? So I'd love to give you some tips here today. So first I'm going to share with you what rewiring actually is, and I'll give you some non-trauma examples because it's easier to explain using that. And then I will use those examples to explain the difference between those and trauma examples and why that sometimes doesn't translate so beautifully into our healing from trauma, rewiring our brain from all the trauma. Okay? So please stick with me to the end so you know the few sticky points, why things are so difficult, or why it is so difficult for us to rewire our brain after developmental trauma, interpersonal trauma, childhood trauma, whatever you like to call it, right? So many different names these days. So rewiring the brain, what is it? First of all, I want to really highlight, you do not need to be a neuroscientist or you don't need an expert to rewire your brain. You're actually doing it all the time already anyway, naturally. Our brain just does it, right? Our brain is constantly changing. Our brain has tremendous capacity to change, and it's called neuroplasticity. So what that really means is that our brain forms new neuronal pathways, new networks. So something that feels awkward and clumsy and difficult becomes easier and easier and easier till it's so automated that we can do it without thinking, right? Have you ever gotten a new phone? The first time you get that new phone in your hand, it feels awkward. Even the size, there's a different size and the settings are in different areas and you're going in, and if you're a little bit like me and technology is difficult, you can get quite frustrated. And, it's a bit difficult, and it takes me so long to find things at the beginning, right? But we're doing it every day, and as we keep doing it, probably by the end of the week or next week, it's easier. We know where the things are. In a month's time, we're doing it without thinking, right? It's actually the opposite that often if a friend asks you, hey, where is that setting for the light or whatever, right? And you've been going in there so often that you can't actually exactly know where you clicked on, but you know exactly where you tap, right? You know exactly how to get there, but you can't actually put it in words. So it's so automated. You have such a strong neuronal network and pathways developed around this through practice, right? Because we use this thing all the time. And this goes with all skills, and it goes in reverse as well. For example, when I was throughout childhood, I loved playing the flute. And I was a pretty good flute player. But then, for about a decade or longer, I didn't touch the flute. So now when I'm trying to play, it is really rusty. It is not there. Those neuronal pathways that were really strong and really built out and developed with lots and lots and lots of practice started to actually kind of fall apart, or not fall apart. The brain, the pathways stay there, but the brain starts to use some of those building blocks because you don't use it so much anymore. You just use it in different areas for different skills that you're trying to work on, right? So rewiring the brain and neuroplasticity makes perfect sense in these kind of examples, in this everyday life kind of thing. So why does it not work the same way for rewiring our brain? That is key, right? So we really want to look at this. When you, for example, have that new phone, and if you're like me, you got frustrated with that thing, you couldn't find where to change those settings or how to upload the photos into OneDrive and all these kind of things, you just couldn't figure it out. When you get that frustrated or that awkwardness feeling or this whatever it is for you, did you put the phone down for days and weeks? We kept going, right? We kept searching for information to actually help us with that. So there's something there that's different to the trauma thing that keeps us doing that willingness, that determination. There's a necessity perhaps there because we kind of need that device. It's different, right? That's a bit different there. The emotional investment in learning how to use, for example, a phone or a skill or a hobby that we're really passionate about, there's a different emotional charge to this, right? Can you see that? Because when we're now looking at our trauma, I'd ordered some typical examples there from mine. It might not be you, but I used to dissociate a lot. Daydreaming, catastrophizing is one of my favorites. Still have to work on this. My brain loves to go into some really crazy places. Or ruminating about the past and analyzing and those kind of things, right? There's a really build out neuronal pathways, and I don't like them. They don't serve me well. I would like them to actually get downgraded like my flute playing ones. I would have liked to keep them and take those building blocks away from those pathways. But why does it not work quite that way, right? So when we're looking specifically at a practice or a tool that gets taught a lot for us when we're healing from complex PTSD is mindfulness. And I remember the very first time I heard mindfulness, I resisted it. I hated it. We had a few examples and it didn't work, and it was so frustrating, and I couldn't keep my mind in the here and now. I couldn't do the exercise. It was so difficult. It was like there was no neuronal pathways. There was just nothing there. It felt like it had to be built from scratch. But I got so frustrated that I didn't do it again. And then the next therapy session we started again, right? There was all these big gaps where I didn't practice it the same way as I perhaps practiced playing the flute or trying to get used to my new phone. I didn't do that. And why is that? Why do we do this? I don't know. Do you feel into yours? For me, for a long time, I didn't really feel I was worthy to actually have a better life. Right? There's a big difference there. And also the emotional investment was very different. Right? For that skill where I can have some joy and some fun and some playfulness and some connectedness, being with other people and that things that I longed for, it helped me. But when it comes to the trauma and all the difficult stuff and feeling like your brain is broken or damaged and isn't working properly, there was a lot of shame. So much shame that I couldn't talk to other people. I didn't want to talk to my friend and ask them how to do that. Right? With the phone, when I can't find a setting, I can say to my friend, hey, where is this? Show me. Right? It's a different... We can openly talk about this. But when it comes to our catastrophizing and ruminating and analyzing and flashbacks and those kind of things, we suffer in silence often. The big underlying thing often is that we don't actually feel worthy of having a better life, and often we don't feel like it's even possible. Right? So if you would have, and you get that phone in your hand and you would have believed that you're not worthy of having that phone and this is like, oh, I could never learn how to use it, then you probably will put it down too. You wouldn't touch it again. Be almost more equivalent to use some kind of difficult computer program that is just so over the top, so overwhelming, difficult that we don't want to learn it, right? This would be another no trauma example there, using something like that. When something is so big that it overwhelms us, when our nervous system is starting to have a reaction and it shuts down and it freezes on us, then we can't learn new skills, right? Because every time we go into this shutdown mode or this hypervigilant or overwhelmed kind of state, we lose parts of our brain, especially the prefrontal cortex, where we can do this analytical kind of thinking and finding solutions and being creative, right? And it all goes out the window. Right? So it's important for us to really look at it. What are my, often they're subconscious and unconscious beliefs, by the way, that not feeling worthiness, but I'm guessing you being here, you've probably been into or looking at solutions for healing trauma, that you have some awareness of that, so you probably already recognize that you are feeling not worthy or perhaps less than other people, and like a failure. That's what I felt. I just felt like damaged goods. Things will never change for me, right? That was my belief. So when I then looked for tools like mindfulness, I thought that this is going to get me from this state into a normal functioning brain. I wanted to be normal just like everyone else, right? And it didn't work that way. We need to find our little building blocks. It's almost like when you start learning to play the flute, you have beginners books. Don't go to the advanced, because it would be way overwhelming. I would have never continued, right? So when something is really sticking for you and it's not moving in your healing, then check in with yourself. Am I choosing something that is so far ahead from where I am right now that it is overwhelming my nervous system? Do I need to bring in a different tool, a different practice? Right? Just first, is there something else that I need to address first? Some very basic and very simple exercises. I started with the basic. I did the overwhelming for a long time because I just really wanted to rush. I wanted to be better, like in no time, right? Within a month, I didn't allow myself enough time to heal. That rewiring, that it takes time, it takes patience. It's a step-by-step process. It's that determination, that daily sticking with it that makes all the difference. Right. So I hope that was helpful, and I hope that explains it a little bit to you, what the rewiring is, and to realize that most likely you're not doing anything wrong, I believe. I think that the tools that you have found, you somehow resonated with them, so they're probably the right ones. You just haven't practiced them enough consistently to notice some shift, to notice some progress, to give your brain enough time to actually realize, oh, she really wants to build those neuronal pathways. We better get our act together. We better start building those networks for her. She's really serious about that. It's like a whole week she's been really going at this, you know, and give your brain some time to recognize that this is important to me now. I am taking my health as a priority. This is a necessity for me to get better, right? The same necessity as I have for my phone. I really need that phone. I need, you know, for obvious reason, we need a phone these days. It's almost like I can't live without that thing. But my health is a necessity, you know? This is so important for me to have that, okay? So, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for staying all the way till the end. If you're still here, that tells me that you already have that determination, right? You have all the qualities that you need to rewire the brain, because we're doing it all the time already anyway, right? We have the building blocks. We got this. I believe in you, okay? And with that, I'm sending you lots and lots of love and rainbows to brighten up the tough times just a little. See ya. Bye.